Hi everybody, TheHande Mackinnon here, doing another impromptu little vlog thingy. Okay, so just recently had confirmation that in August, She-Ra and the Princesses of Power is going to have a third season. And also one other thing we know ahead of time is that Huntara is going to be making an appearance, and she's going to be voiced by Gina Davis, which sounds pretty awesome. So now that it's still somewhat relevant, I thought maybe I should quickly give my opinion on the second season of She-Ra and the Princesses. I should give my opinion on the second season of She-Ra and the Princesses of Power. And because the second season was so short, I'm actually going to give a rundown of all the episodes this time. In case you didn't watch my shitty couch vlog on the first season of She-Ra and the Princesses of Power. God damn it, that title is so hard to say. I'm just gonna call it I'm just gonna keep referring to it as the She-Ra. I'm gonna refer to it as the She-Ra Netflix show from now on. If you didn't see my video on the first She-Ra Netflix show, you should probably go check that out. But I will already tell you that, of course, I really liked the first season of She-Ra. I really like what they're doing with the storyline. I did have some minor gripes about this season, and also, one important note here is that I myself do not have Netflix. If I ever watch anything from Netflix, I always watch it with my sister or with some of my friends. So when I'm making this rundown of the episode, I will admit that I've only seen all of these episodes once. So if I get plot details confused or if I forget something, please forgive me for that. Now, overall impressions, before we go to the episode-by-episode rundown of Season 2, I will have to say that Season 2 was not nearly as good as Season 1, and it wasn't simply just because it was so short, although that was one of my complaints. A general feeling I had with this season compared to Season 1, whereas in Season 1, I think in every episode, the plot was sort of progressing, even if there were kind of one-offy elements to each episode. It always felt like the story was progressing, like we were heading towards something, which was the big battle at the end of Season 1. Season 2 had a much more kind of an expectatory feeling. It felt like we were spending a lot more time just kind of learning about the characters, which is fine. I don't really have big problems with that, but there also weren't really like huge story arcs that got resolved during this second season. That might partly be because all of this is just setting up for Season 3. I did feel that the writing of Season 2 overall was just not as strong. Like, with Season 1, even with some of the jokier episodes, I wouldn't say that there was a single episode of the first season I disliked, which is rare. There were a lot more episodes, so you would think that I could remember one that I didn't particularly care for. But I think because the writing was so good that the episodes which focused on the story tended to be very good. And when they had slightly more funny side tangents or whatever, when they went to Mystic Core, for instance, or the prom episode. People probably know that the funny He-Man and She-Ra episodes are usually my favorites anyway, so that didn't really bother me. With this season, it just felt like they didn't really focus or key in on any specific points. We learned a little bit, like small breadcrumbs about the background and history of Etheria, which was nice, but really nothing substantial, other than apparently one of the previous years at a dragon. Okay, so let's get to the episode rundown. So the first episode, The Frozen Forest. Now, this actually fulfilled one of my requests or one of my wishes about that I made in my original couch vlog, which was an episode which I felt should have focused more on the princesses. It kind of felt like the princesses only got incidental bits here and there, and there wasn't a single episode that really focused on them. So this one finally gave Frost personality. It was an overall fun, action-packed episode. I don't feel that they did an excellent job, but it was good enough. It was a good start to the season. The Ties That Bind. Now, this episode really annoyed me. I wouldn't say it's a bad episode, but they resolved a little thing about Season 1 that pissed me off because, of course, Entrapta ends up going onto the side of the villains because she thinks that the heroes abandoned her, even though they did that just completely by accident. Now, this episode, the reason it pisses me off is because in this episode, Bo and Glimmer managed to capture Catra. They have Catra captured for the entire episode. And how does the episode end? Well, spoiler alert, I guess, by the way. Catra gets away, and Entrapta just explains that, yeah, she likes working for the villains. Which just kind of, what? I think me and my sister's boyfriend, we both have this same kind of reaction to Entrapta that we do like what they're kind of doing with her on the Netflix She-Ra show, because on the original Filmation She-Ra show, Atrapta was really just a villain of the day. She really didn't have much in the sense of a personality, and she's not very interesting. But at the same time, she's one of the most infuriating characters. Like, I get it. She has this thirst for knowledge that is completely unaffected by, like, little things like ethics and morality. I mean, she's not really evil, but, like, this episode just kind of made my head hurt. Also, I think this is the episode where She-Ra and Swiftwind pretty much spend the whole episode trying to piece together this ancient beacon of some kind. And yeah, that was a nice bit of character development. I like seeing more of Swiftwind, because I do feel we got kind of shortchanged with Swiftwind, because I didn't say this in the original video, but I really did like Swiftwind in this version. However, I was still left kind of puzzled by the way that they're still dealing with Light Hope, because I kind of got the feeling at the end of season 1 like they kind of just broke off from Light Hope, because she turned out to be a bit of a dick. I don't know, it's been a while since I've seen season 1 too, so, you know, maybe I'm forgetting something. Then we have the episode Signals, where the heroes go to a village where they think they're seeing ghosts, and it's really holographs of the past. Don't remember much about this one. I guess it was okay. We, again, hinted a little bit at the fact that Etheria is just an artificial planet created by the Eternians. So that was an okay one. I don't really have anything to complain about with that. And then we come to the 4th episode, Roll With It. Oh, God. You know what? This is officially my least favorite episode of this new Netflix She-Ra show, because what happens in this episode is the heroes use a D&D board, basically, to argue through the whole episode how they're going to assault a horde fortress. So really, nothing happens until the final attack. And what I really, really hated about this episode is that in the first season, when Scorpia entered the scene, I really liked what they were doing with her, where she's not inherently antagonistic towards Kadra, but rather the complete opposite.
How often do you two
stick our fingers inside our hands and pull them out again? Every chance we get.
But unfortunately, this episode really reaffirms the fact that Scorpia is not the brightest tool in the shed. I mean, it's pretty obvious she's completely incompetent, and sure, it's kind of cool when the action finally begins, she can hold her own in a fight, but really, this is something that they kept doing with Scorpia all through this season, and really, really annoyed me, was that they just kept making her seem more and more stupid. There is one episode where they luckily redeemed that a little bit, and I'll get to it in a minute. But it also pains me because this was the episode where they decided to have a callback and a homage to the original Filmation She-Ra, which, yes, I like that. Yes, I like the fact that they had a modern rendition of I Have the Power, the She-Ra end credits song from the original Filmation show. But as an episode overall, didn't like it. This was bad. Alright, but then Whiteout. Now, this might be my favorite or second favorite episode of this season. So, they go to the ice region of Etheria, and they get attacked by these ancient robots. We get a call back to the corrupting crystal thingamajigger from the previous season. All around, this was a really solid episode. There was a lot of cool stuff going on, and it had Seahawk, and he and Scorpia have this really cool heart-to-heart moment during the episode, which I really loved. And, of course, Adora's acting drunk again, which is brilliant. Then we had Light Spinner, which, as you might have guessed, was the Shadow Weaver origin episode. And that's why I said I'm kind of torn whether or not I liked Whiteout or Light Spinner more. Light Spinner ends with a very interesting thing. It intercuts between Shadow Weaver still being captured, and it cuts back to the past when she was still Light Spinner. And that whole origin bit was cool. I really liked that. It really did tell us a lot more about this character. And we did get a little bit of a nice interplay between her and Catra, which is something that I kind of been missing all through this episode. Like, I get it, Catra's just pissed off at Shadow Weaver all the time, but we haven't seen really anything develop from that since season 1. So yeah, Light Spinner had really good storytelling, Whiteout had really good action stuff, and a few good character moments, so I think these two collectively are my favorite episode. And then we had the season 2 finale, Reunion, where we meet Bo's dads. And I was a little mixed on this, not because I had no problem with Bo having two dads. That was fine. In fact, I also like the story angle this time around, which is that Bo has been lying to his dads about not being in the rebellion because they're historians and he's afraid that they'd be disappointed or something. But I did like the fact that they are historians and that Bo is using their resources to try to research more about the ancient Ethereans, or as we are constantly heavily suggesting at this point, that they are actually Eternians. And there was another bit of that was called back on, where we see little baby Adora in one of the episodes. I don't remember which one it was, but I like that because it is confirming some of my suspicions about where the story might be going, but we'll have to wait probably until season 3 to find out for sure. Now, the main problem I had with both dads is that I don't think this episode used them well enough. Like, sure, they did the whole bit where Bo has created this whole web of lies where he's going to college and Adora and Glimmer are his student friends. And like I said, we do learn a few funny tidbits about the previous She-Ras. The greatest thing about this episode is, of course, that there are several moments where Adora kind of lets the secret slip a few times that she can actually read Eternian. But overall, I just felt that the characters were not used well enough. It's a fun episode, don't get me wrong, but it just came off a little shallow. I think they could have done a whole lot more with it. And if nothing else, I really do hope Bo's dads appear in further episodes. I do want them to finally address what the whole deal and the connection between Etheria and Eternia are. That's something that I'm genuinely interested in, because of course, I do eventually want to see a He-Man cameo as well. So what do I think overall? Of the 7 episodes, I would say 4 or 5 were pretty good, and 2 were kind of lackluster. One was just kind of annoying, and the other one was just flat out terrible. But overall, still good, and I'm still excited for the 3rd season. So until that comes out, I've been TheHande Mäkinen. I have the power, so can you.